Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 5th of September. Indian Prime Minister arrives in Myanmar to foster ties after Brics summit in China. Pakistan-based terror outfit leader vows to intensify attacks against India. And first Afghan female paraglider hopes to represent country internationally. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday arrived in Myanmar after taking part in Brics summit in China. During his two-day visit to the country, Prime Minister Modi will hold bilateral talks with Myanmar's leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi, to further strengthen the bilateral relations.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Myanmar's capital Naypyidaw on Tuesday after attending the Brics summit in China. Upon his arrival, he was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the presidential palace. During his two-day visit to Myanmar, Prime Minister Modi will hold bilateral talks with Myanmar's leader, including Aung San Suu Kyi, to further strengthen the bilateral relations. Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Xiamen City on the sidelines of Brics summit in China. This came a week after both the countries agreed to end a more than 2-month-long standoff along their disputed border. Chinese President Xi Jinping said that a healthy and stable New Delhi-Beijing relationship was the shared expectation of the regional and the international community. India's Foreign Secretary Subramanyam Jaishankar, briefing the media after the bilateral meeting, said both the leaders reiterated that the two countries could not let their differences to turn into disputes.
We had both agreed that we would not let differences become disputes, and that at a time when the world was changing, we would make sure that India-China relations were a factor of stability. So I think in many ways that was reaffirmed.
Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral meeting with President of Egypt Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. On Monday, Prime Minister Modi raised the issue of terrorism strongly at the Brics summit, and his assertion at the summit so the Xiamen Declaration prominently mentioned terrorism. The Brics countries not only condemned terrorism in one voice, but also named Pakistan-based terror groups while expressing concern of the security situation in the region.
In news from Pakistan, head of Pakistan-based militant outfit Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Abdul Rahman Makki, has pledged to intensify cross-border terrorism against India. He said that jihad or holy war was the only solution to solve the Kashmir issue between the two nations.
In an alarming development, the head of the Pakistan-based militant organization Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Abdul Rahman Makki, has pledged to intensify jihad against India. Makki made the remarks during an event in Lahore to observe the killing of a militant by security forces in Indian Kashmir in March this year. While repledging the Jamaat-ud-Dawa or JUD's commitment to cross-border terrorism, Makki said jihad was the only solution to solve the issue.
और कोई हल 70 साल तुम हिंदुस्तान के साथ नहीं कर सके, अब कर रहा है जिहाद मसले का हल.
Makki blamed the Indian government for convincing the international community to declare former JUD chief Hafiz Syed as a global terrorist. He also used the occasion to confirm the formation of JUD's political outfit, Milli Muslim League. Makki's remarks come days after the US lambasted the Pakistan government for giving safe havens to terror outfits.
Moving on, Pakistan recently witnessed the ouster of its Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on corruption charges. The judiciary acted once again against a democratically elected government. Recently, speakers at a seminar in London discussed about the politics in the country, the role of its military and the judiciary.
professor on whose terms.
Academics from Britain and the United States at a seminar in London recently discussed the evolution of politics, the role of armed forces, democracy and judiciary in Pakistan. Organised by the Democracy Forum, the event saw speakers criticize Pakistan's armed forces and the judiciary for hampering the growth of democracy in the country. On the recent removal of Nawaz Sharif as Prime Minister by the judiciary, Farzana Sheikh, a Pakistani origin fellow at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, described the country as a bonsai democracy or a state restricted by its environment.
And yet the emergence in the last decade of competing institutional forces in Pakistan that have sought to muscle in on space once thought to be exclusively the preserve of the so-called deep state has arguably made the business of conspiring against democracy far more challenging than at any time in the past.
Christine Fair, an associate professor at Washington's Georgetown University, called Sharif's ouster as a judicial coup and did not see the judiciary as independent. Mary Kareen Lal of London University's Institute of Education said the Pakistani youth does not seem to choose the system of democracy and there is a tendency towards a pro-order or a pro-army view. She also pointed the blasphemy law in conservative Muslim Pakistan.
Between 2009 and 2014 was seen as an arena where there was a level of political engagement. To a certain degree that has been reduced because now any kind of criticism, be it considered blasphemy or be it considered anti-national, carries severe consequences, as we know what happened to the bloggers.
Other speakers also highlighted the alleged complicity of Pakistan's deep state and its role in trying to suppress the freedom struggle in Balochistan province.
In news from Afghanistan, the first female member of a paragliding team in Afghan capital Kabul hopes to become a professional paraglider and represent her country at international events. She has been practicing the sport for 5 years now.
Lida Huzuri, the first female member of a small paragliding team in Afghanistan's Kabul city, hopes to represent her country at international events. Lida is one of a group of young Afghans taking to the skies where military helicopters and surveillance balloons are a far more familiar sight. She started practicing the sport 5 years ago and hopes to become a professional paraglider.
اگر دولت بر ما توجه بکنه می‌خوایم که بسیار زیاد رشد بکنیم زمینه بر ما مساعد شود که ما بتونیم زیادتر تمرین بکنیم تا به سطح مسابقات جهانی برسیم.
The members of Lida's paragliding team expressed there is a need to establish a paragliding federation to improve the sport in the country. Paragliding is a new sport in Afghanistan, but it has found many fans in the country in a short time.
Moving on to news from Nepal, Nepal Parliament on Monday endorsed a bill barring people accused of corruption or involved in criminal offences from contesting polls. Nepal is set to hold 2-rounder provincial and federal elections in November and December this year.
Nepal Parliament on Monday endorsed an electoral law for upcoming election which bars people involved in corruption and criminal offences from contesting polls. Lawmakers of the ruling Nepali Congress demanded flexibility over the provision but allowed the bill to be presented in Parliament.
विधेयकमा राखेका प्रावधानहरू सम्मानित सदनले यस पूर्व पारित गरेका कतिपय ऐनहरुमा पनि स्पष्ट भइसकेका छन् र अहिले थ्रेशहोल्ड लगायतको जो विषय उठेको छ यो राजनीतिक दलहरुलाई प्रतिबन्ध लगाउने उद्देश्यले होइन व्यवस्थित गर्ने र संसदको सञ्चालन र व्यवस्थापनमा अझ मद्दत पुर्याउने र प्रतित्वलाई अझ सुदृढ व्यवस्थित गर्ने उद्देश्यले रहेको छ। त्यसकारणले
The new bill has also fixed the threshold for the parties to win a seat. A candidate who fights for proportional seat in the House of Representatives should acquire at least 1.5% of the votes cast to acquire a seat in the Provincial Assembly. The new electoral law also ruled out the provision of no vote or vote to reject, breaching the ruling by the Supreme Court. Nepal is set to hold 2 rounds of provincial and federal elections in November and December this year.
People in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province thronged fruit markets to purchase locally grown apples at reasonable prices. The fruit prices fell after the opening of the historic Mughal Road in Poonj area of the province.
Fruit markets of Poonj area in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province are buzzing with activity as people purchase locally grown apples available at reasonable prices. The fall in the fruit prices is being observed after the opening of the historic Mughal Road, which was connected via train with the other regions. According to local traders, the opening of the road has cut down transportation costs of produce and has improved accessibility.
आज से 4 महीने पहले जब ये रोड बंद थी, यही सेब जो यहाँ ट्रेड के द्वारा पाकिस्तान से आता था या कहीं बाहर से आता था, जम्मू से घूमकर आता था, तो वो सेब यहाँ पर 180 रुपये किलो रिटेल में बिक रहा था। और आज यहाँ पर रेट ये है कि हमारा गरीब आदमी जो है, आम आदमी जो है, वो इसको बिल्कुल कम दाम पर खरीद के आराम से खा सकता है और अपने बच्चों को भी खिला सकता है। इसके लिए हमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं आ रही है।
Well known for its quality and taste worldwide, Kashmiri apples contribute a major part to the province's economy. The apples are exported to other regions of the country and to abroad.
Remembering St Teresa on her 20th death anniversary, people in India's eastern Kolkata city thronged a church on Tuesday. Known as Mother Teresa of Calcutta, the saint is known for her charitable work throughout the world.
The missionaries of charity in India's eastern Kolkata city on Tuesday remembered St Teresa on her 20th death anniversary. Popularly known as Mother Teresa, hundreds of her followers turned up at the church and observed prayers. St Teresa had spent a major part of her life in Kolkata, where she dedicated her life to the poor, sick and dying.
Her work is unforgettable. There's no one like her, and no one can come up to her no matter what all they try, and her work is fabulous.
We feel Mother so close to us, and every day it is a new discovery of the depth and the breadth and the heights of her holiness and the message she has given to each one of us.
St Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize for her humanitarian work in 1979. In December 2015, Pope Francis, the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, cleared the way for Mother Teresa to be canonized as St Teresa of Calcutta on September 4, 2016.
Devotees across India on Tuesday participated in grand immersion processions of the elephant-headed god Ganesha. Every year, after the completion of Ganesh Chaturthi festival, devotees immerse idols of Ganesha in water bodies.
Devotees in India's western Maharashtra province on Tuesday gathered to bid farewell to Hindu god Ganesha after the end of the Ganesh Chaturthi festival. The 10-day-long festival of Ganesh Chaturthi marks the birth of the elephant-headed god Ganesha. During Ganesh Chaturthi, Ganesh idols are worshipped in temples and at homes and submerged on the last day of the festival in a river or sea. As part of the celebration, many processions took place across the city before reaching the immersion points. Devotees in Nagpur city of the province sang and danced as they carried idols of Ganesha, symbolizing a ritual seeing off the deity. Meanwhile, in India's western Mumbai city too, people celebrated the festival with great fervour and arrived at immersion points with the idols. Ganesha is considered the deity of prosperity by Hindus.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now, our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.